This topic is actually inexhaustible, but I just want to drop a note video on key points on it so that when people want, they can just go to the playlist and watch. Look at this playlist at the bottom of this video. If you're watching from TikTok, you will see all the videos I've made. Now, this person said, Paul the apostle had an infirmity that was never cured, but yet he prayed for other people who got healed or even raised the dead. So miracle works. Remember that this came as a response to a video I made where I said that miracles don't exist. People can't do miracles. All right. So what you have to understand first of all is separating reality from what you are reading. It's like when I'm watching a movie and somebody jumped from upstairs in that movie and land properly and run away. It doesn't mean that I can do it if I jump from the window myself, because if I jump from the window, that's reality. The laws of gravity in real life is different from the ones you are watching in a movie. Same thing with when you are reading a book. Anybody can write anything in a book. Things can happen. I can write that an elephant can fly in a book. But in reality, can it? No, because the laws of physics are different. So what does that tell you? When you read the Bible, did you meet Apostle Paul personally when he was alive? No. This infirmity you are talking about, did you see the infirmity yourself? No. Do you know whether it's a physical infirmity or a spiritual one? Till today, religious leaders argue whether it's a spiritual infirmity or a physical one because of the way it was written. You don't know these people. There's no character in the Bible that you met personally. So what does that tell you? Your own life is different. You're just gaining inspiration and spiritual guidance by reading the Bible or whatever religious book. It doesn't mean that exactly the way things are written there is how it happened. I'll give you an example. In Africa here, we have folk tales. If you grew up in the village, elders will be telling you lots of stories. Why are they telling you those stories? So that you will learn lessons, moral lessons from it. Not that that's how the story happened. A good example is one of the stories of how the tortoise got the cracks on its back. So they say that all the animals went for a feast in heaven. So the animals that could not fly had to piggyback the ones that could fly. So birds, different kinds of birds were carrying different animals. So an eagle carried an elephant, and a kite carried a tortoise, because tortoise cannot fly. So when they went there, tortoise hustled as for sharp guy and became the financial manager. So they gave him money and everything, put him in charge of the food. Do you understand? To share food for all the animals. Tortoise ate all the food. Even the one of the kite, the bird that brought him to heaven, tortoise ate the kite's food. So when they now started asking him, he started fighting with them. So they left him. All of them went back to earth hungry. So they piggybacked all the birds and started coming back. The kite now got angry and flew down without the tortoise. So the tortoise was trapped in heaven. So the angels now told the tortoise, well, start going back to earth. We're closing heaven. Tortoise had no option than to jump from heaven. When he jumped, he landed on his back and his back broke. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that when you bite the fingers that fed you, you'll be forced to do things yourself that you cannot do and end up with disaster. Now imagine that our forefathers wrote this story on a book. If we are reading this story and we say, yes, this is actually how the tortoise got its crack, you'll be an idiot if you believe that. Literally, nah. If you say, yes, there was a time there was this actual feast, let us find the date. In 1772 BC, let us calculate how many years from this. There are some churches that do it. They'll be calculating the date that Jesus will return. 1717 BC plus 2 years and 7 scores and this. Nah. The story was not written for you to believe it literally. The real power of the story is in the meaning you can extract from it. The lesson, how it communicates to you. There's no time tortoise jumped from heaven. It never happened. But they crafted that story to pass a message. Now, what happens with religious books is that they communicate to you depending on your spiritual level at the time of reading the book. A good example, just like every work of art, any good work of art will have several depths of meaning. You know Bob Marley's song, "Oh pirates, yes the rabbi." You know that song? If you just listen to it normally, it's a good song, like nothing special. But when you travel abroad to some countries and you experience racism, and now you are listening to the song, all of a sudden the song has a totally different meaning. He said, "How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look?" Jeez. Deep. Or you witness the magnificence of Western technology. You see the biggest buildings, the biggest warplanes, armor tanks, and you are there right there. Maybe you visit one of the mighty war museums. Jeez. And you listen to that song again. He said, "Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time." Damn. You see, if you're now smoking weed, geez, when you're listening to that song, it's a whole not that different type of song. Different meaning, different depth. So that is the way any spiritual book is. Your level, your state, the state of your mind at the time you are reading it will determine how you're going to understand it. It doesn't mean that it happened exactly the way it happened. Some of the characters may not even be real. Like the story I told you about tortoise. Do you understand? Some of the actions may not even be real. The way, like physically. Some of the things described may not even be real. For instance, where Jesus said, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move, and go to the other side. Deep. Now, have you ever in your life ever heard that anybody in history was able to move a mountain via faith? It's not possible to move a mountain. Today, we don't even have the technology to move mountains, but we can level it. Do you understand? We can till the mountain until we level it, but we can't move it. There's no way to use faith to move mountain. What does it translate to? Nobody has faith up to the size of a mustard seed yet, because that's what the quote says. Now, some preachers will try to escape that by saying that it's not a real mountain he's talking about. The moment you say that, you will now start understanding what I'm saying. If you say it's not a real mountain, then that means it's not real faith he's talking about. Do you understand? Okay, if you say it's not a real mountain, you forget that he said this mountain. That means he was probably pointing at something, at a mountain. He said if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain. Not just you can say to a mountain. Say this mountain. So there was a mountain he was talking about. That's a real mountain. So if you take it literally, you will go in front of the mountain and trying to practice faith to move the mountain. It's not going to work. Do you understand? It's all allegory. 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 It's not a real mountain. It's not a real mustard seed. It's not a real tree. They say Jesus cursed a tree. If you read that passage, Jesus cursed a tree, and they were asking him how he did it. He now said, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain. So the moment you understand that the mountain is not real, that means the tree was not real. That means the whole story is not real the way as if it happened like that. It is written for what? For spiritual guide, spiritual exercise, to extract a meaning. So once you start reading the story like that, what is the meaning? What is the intention for this story? You will start understanding it in a whole different way. There was a Kenyan or Ugandan pastor that tried to walk on water. They went to a bridge and lowered him. His church members gathered on the bridge and they were singing, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hallelujah, Hosanna. They now lowered him with rope. The moment they disconnected the rope, the man went down under. That was the end. R.I.P. Go to Google and find him. That was how this man died. Because what, he can't swim. He underestimated real life. He was trying to practice what he saw in the book. True life story, there was a guy in the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. There is a zoo there. And a man called Daniel, who happened to be a pastor, thought he was the original Daniel in the Bible. He went there and jumped into the zoo to preach to the lions. You know how the story ended? He died. The lion tore him into pieces. Because the story of Daniel may not have been real. It's possible. I'm not saying any of these are not real. I'm saying it's